Good evening, brothers and sisters. We're going to be, in this instance, we're going to be revisiting, uh, revisiting a topic that we have gone over fairly recently, but due to some challenges that we received, we have learned some additional information and we have gathered some additional information. Our general opinion regarding this section has not, our general belief regarding this section has not changed. That this is a revelation of the end times, um, though many believe it to be a prophecy of the Civil War. I do believe that Stephen has some things that he wants to say with regards to this, so I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
turn time over to him.
So I thought I found someone that would put this in their podcast. We met and did recordings twice. And out of nowhere, he decided not to publish it, and he hasn't talked to me about it. But even though that didn't happen, I am still, or we, I would say, are
Yeah.
still grateful for it because he did challenge us on a couple points.
Mhm.
Which made us look a little deeper, which, um, if anything, it helped me see the Civil War as a type for the Second Civil War because of more bullet points that the Civil War actually meets. So, um, and since he's not publishing what we did with him, I wanted us to do it again to bring out these new things that we have learned that he helped us out with. So with that, because there is a lot of connections to the second coming,
Mhm.
but to give some credit to him, he did know a little more history, or at least remembered more history
Yeah.
than we did. But he still acknowledges that we have something, even though he's decided not to put it out. And I don't know why. He wouldn't respond to my email trying to talk to him about it. So, anyways.
Okay. Okay. What we're so we so we, here we're going to talk about the type and shadow. This is how the type and the shadow is a part of the Hebrew prophetic tradition, which makes it possible for it to appear that a prophecy has multiple, I'm going to put air quotes around it, fulfillments. The types and the shadows are not fulfillments of the prophecy. They are simply um, they're simply a looking they're simply pointing they are a confirmation that what has been prophesied will take place.
So one way, another way to possibly put it, they have partial fulfillments,
Hmm.
but not the full thing, which helps with knowing what to look for the real thing.
Hmm. So, yeah, okay. So the first thing that we want to do is the first thing I want to do is highlight Stephen Retz's second coming page, because this is a prophecy about the second coming, and we will be able to show definitively that the first four seals are in this section, as well as and there are references to the seventh as well.
Yes, at the very end. Yes.
Mhm. So this is so just really quick, if Stephen, if you want to tell people about your second coming page.
Sure, sure. There's a lot on here. And so I have the different seals on here and the trumpet and bowls. And then I have a lot of scriptures underneath each one. And then I have little descriptions too, at least out of bullet points. I am slowly trying to add comments on some of the scriptures. Some are better than others because there's a lot, so it takes time to go back and update everything. So, but when I'm adding new ones, I am adding more information. But it goes through this seal one through seven, and it shows how they're happening on appointed times. It has Daniel's numbers in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has the trumpet and the bowls. So, and
Nice.
additional scriptures that goes with them also, even on the trumpet and the bowls. So,
So yeah, so we will be returning to this screen periodically throughout the remainder of the presentation. But
but
right
till then,
now,
I think Ben wants to
yeah, I
take.
think right now I think I want to be able to share my screen here because we're going to talk about the type and shadow. Um, we're going to look here. I'm going to pull up Isaiah. I'm going to pull up something, maybe if I can. Uh, this seems to have.
Here, let me pause the record.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay, so my computer decided to get retarded. So we are going to have to. So we had to pause there, and now we have um, our example that our shining example of the type and shadow that we're going to use here. There's lots of scripture references in association with it. So, Josh, do you mind reading verses 5 through 8?
5 through 8.
Yes.
All right. Yahweh spake also unto me again, saying, forasmuch as this people refuseth the waters of Shiloah that go softly, and rejoice in Rezin and Remaliah's son, now therefore, behold, Yahweh bringeth upon them the waters of the river, strong and many, even the king of Assyria and all his glory, and he shall come up over all his channels and go over all his banks. And he shall pass through Judah. He shall overflow and go over. He shall reach even to the neck, and the stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of my land, O Emmanuel.
So this is talking about the king of Assyria, the invasion, and it seems to be pointing to his invasion of Judah. The king of Assyria is a representative character, as we will see when we read this next part of this same prophecy.
Now,
So,
on verse 7, if it's okay, I do see a lot of second coming imagery in there.
mhm. Yes.
Um, in fact, that Zion will go out to the whole world is
Yep.
definitely that, and the king will be in charge of it. So,
Uh-huh.
it,
King of Assyria is usually a bad figure in prophecy, an evil man. He's,
sure, sure, but
he's
and
used
all
in
this
Isaiah.
more.
In fact, he's even used in Isaiah as a type of Satan himself.
Okay, so what I'm seeing right here, though, is
Yeah.
since they didn't listen to the waters of Shiloh, who
Mhm.
Yeshua or Shiloah, but
Uh-huh.
goes along to Shiloh, which Yeshua is,
Hmm.
he will then bring a river, like a whole bunch,
Right.
and his glory. And
Hmm.
Yeshua's coming in glory during the second coming,
Right.
and it'll go over all the banks, as in going all over the world. So that's what I see in
That's what you see. Okay.
7. But
That's an interesting take on that. But let's take a look at and you'll be able to see how that could very well be um, that could very well be what it's prophesying of. But let's read verses 9 through 14, Zach.
And 9 through 14.
9 through 14.
Associate yourselves, all ye my people, all ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces, and give ear, all ye of far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Take counsel together, and it shall come it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand, for Elohim is with us. For Yahweh spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify Yahweh of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
So we have here very much in verse 14, particularly very much strong first coming. Um, uh, ties with the word.
I see first coming and second coming with that.
Yeah,
Because a lot, although when the mighty strong one comes, it'll some of the house of Israel will come, and some of the house of Judah will come. But there's going to be a lot that don't, and they're actually going to spy on them.
yeah. Now, this is one of the things that I find interesting. Um, some some translations of this some translations of this section where it says here in the King James a confederacy, which I think is a better translation, it says a conspiracy. I think the confederacy is a better translation because this is talking about making alliances, putting your trust in the arm of flesh.
Yeah, and during the second coming time, there's going to be a lot of
A lot of confederating.
worldly people uniting together to the point that the Antichrist will be in charge of it all.
Right. Yeah, so a lot of confederating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, which is an interesting word considering what we're talking about here in section 87 and the type and shadow where you have the Confederates against the Union. Um, that's a really interesting type and
Right.
makes that a
Yeah.
really interesting type and shadow now. So what we have here is a prophecy of the king of Assyria going all the way up to Jerusalem, surrounding Jerusalem, um, and nobody will be able, any confederacy that people build against him will fall. But but you see, so this is so, and the fulfillment and the fulfillment of this prophecy appears to be recorded in the Bible. But this is a type and shadow. As we can see, we've been able to pull out references to the second coming in this section. So this was just a type and shadow. Let's go to 2 Kings 18. Let's see. Starting in verse 17. Andrew, can you read my screen?
Yes, let me just get it a little bigger for me, but yes. All right. And the king of Assyria sent Tartan and Rabsaris and Rabshakeh from hold on, I'd be better if I don't have the cursor there. Sorry, it kind of blocks a few of the letters
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay, sorry.
From you're fine. From Lachish, the king Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. And when they were come up, they came and stood by the conduit of the upper pool, which is the highway of the fuller's field. Is in the highway of the fuller's field. Apologies.
Mhm. Okay, and keep reading.
Okay. And when they had called to the king, there came out to them Eliakim,
Yeah, Eliakim.
Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, which was over the household, and Shebna, the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder. Keep going.
Yeah.
When Rabshakeh said unto them, Speak ye now to Hezekiah, thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this wherein thou trustest?
Keep
Thou
going.
sayest, sorry, what?
No, keep going.
Yeah.
Thou sayest, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for the war. Now on whom dost thou trust that thou rebellest against me?
Okay, so they're stating that Judah Hezekiah uh, Hezekiah's father um, made a pact with the king of Assyria so that Assyria would not raid them. And Hezekiah is establishing, in his righteousness, is establishing the power of the rule over the people of Judah again. And so they think that he is, um, so they see him as rebelling, which he is against their wicked lead. Um, and so they've come and they've surrounded the whole place. And it came to pass when King Hezekiah heard it, that he rent his clothes, and they're blaspheming Yahweh. And when King Hezekiah heard it, he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of Yahweh. And he sent Eliakim to Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, and together they pray to the Lord. And this army that is surrounding the city right up to the very walls. Um, at the end of 35 is destroyed. And it came to pass at night that the angel of the Lord and that the angel of Yahweh went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. Uh, I suppose the ones who didn't arise. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh. And it came to pass as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch his god, that Adremelech and Sharezer his son smote him with the sword, and they escaped the land into the land of Armenia, and Esarhaddon his son reigned in his stead. So the army is struck down. They have, like it says in Isaiah chapter 8, in he shall reach even to the neck. And so this seems to be a fulfillment of that, right? But it's not.
So, if you don't mind, can I just talk about the number 185?
Yeah.
So, if you go to my symbolism page, or you can go online and search if you want, but 100 is promise, okay? 80 is the eternity, new beginning, new birth, and 5 has a couple of things with it.
Hmm.
One's mortality and grace, divine strength, and God's goodness or Elohim's goodness. Um, I can definitely see those numbers meanings going along with that passage,
Hmm.
Hmm.
right?
And so, yes, definitely, absolutely. And so what we have here is a near fulfillment, except that they didn't fill their land, and then not everything was broken in pieces, except for the Assyrian army at the gates. Um, that was broken in pieces pretty good. But
But that's not ye, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. That was not, yeah. So this actually, I would say. given that we've seen second coming references in it, I would say it had a more complete fulfillment in the siege of Jerusalem by the Romans. This is how we see that the king of Assyria now becomes a representative character.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the Romans did come in and did break all in pieces and destroyed the Jewish confederacies and sent the because they had been offended at Yeshua and had stumbled over his words.
Yes.
And so you see a more full and complete fulfillment there. In the same way, as we go into Doctrine and Covenants, section 87, not the right one. There we go. We go into Doctrine and Covenants, section 87, we're going to see that the Civil War kind of fills that in a shallow way, including some of the very physical appellations in much the same way that Isaiah 8. It was the king of Assyria in the type and shadow, just like it is the northern and southern states in the type and shadow.
Correct. And one thing, I don't know if you were planning on this or not, but you should scroll down, or scroll up, actually, sorry, and talk about what was going on at the time this revelation was.
Yeah, I do plan on doing that. That was actually the next thing. Thank you. Thank you. So Joseph Smith receives this revelation on December 25th of 1832. There was something very significant that was going on in the United States at that time, and it was a tariff dispute. See, Andrew Jackson had levied tariffs on foreign goods that were crippling to the economy of the state of South Carolina, along with several other states. But South Carolina was not going to stand for this. And so they unilaterally decided that they were not going to charge the tariffs and that they were not going to collect them. And this almost resulted in open war in South Carolina. And this all happened in the fall and around November, December of 1832. But it was the war in this instance was headed off by some very, very ingenious diplomacy by Calhoun, the senator.
Yep, John C. Calhoun.
John C. Calhoun, the senator from South Carolina, did some um, very fine statesmanship to head off war here, negotiating a diminishing of the tariffs that Andrew Jackson had imposed, and this brought the almost combat situation to a close. And this is not the first time that South Carolina had this is not the first time, nor will it be the last time that South Carolina had issues with the way the United States government was running things.
Can I interject something real quick before you show some other examples?
Okay.
So, I listen to LDS podcasts partly just to get me to think on scriptures. Not that I always agree with them, because a lot of times I don't. But they do know more history than I do. It is not one of my strengths. And a history thing that let me see, the Church History Matters podcast brought out to me one time was how even after this tariff war didn't turn into a civil war, as this prophecy prophesies as, which is what was going on at the time that Joseph Smith received this, Joseph Smith kept saying, "This is true. I may not know when it's going to happen, but this is true."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I know a lot of people in the Restoration do believe it has to do with the first Civil War right now because, and I would say a lot of it, that's because that's what the church and podcasters teach.
And
Um,
there's also content within the revelation itself which seems to point to it.
correct. Correct. I do agree with that. Um, but we'll go over that in detail. So with that, I think Ben's going to talk about some of the other times this may have happened, right?
Yes. So there were several other slave rebellions in South Carolina that made national headlines, including one where slaves seized a warehouse in Charleston, um, until they were taken and summarily executed. Um, so there's South Carolina. We have uh, in South Carolina we have a hot in South Carolina we have a hotbed of around, especially around that time, we had a hotbed of uh, malice and anger. And anger often has just, anger sometimes has just causes. Uh, I can understand the slaves' anger, why they would revolt, but we are often, but Paul often told the slaves in his Greek, in the Greek, in Corinth, not to rebel against their masters. Um, but this is anger is almost always understandable, but it rarely ever leads to good choices. South Carolina still is a hotbed of um, it still has a smoldering bed of anger and resentment in there. They are currently fifth per capita in the United States among the 50 states for murder. They are 11th among the 50 states for violent crime. There is a lot of anger in South Carolina.
And I've even, not that I remember everything, but I've seen stuff popping up in news about them in that area even today on various controversies that are going on today. Right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, and there's many and I follow several YouTubers from South Carolina who they're becoming very disillusioned with things as they currently stand with our president. Um, how he is all about making every other nation in the world great, and not putting America first. So there's again that resentment brewing in the state of South Carolina against the government that they voted in. Truth be
Sure,
told.
but with what I believe in Second Coming prophecy events, it does make sense because he's
Mhm.
causing division among the USA, and they also need to push USA down
Mhm.
to achieve their goals, which will make some things later that we'll talk about easier. So,
Okay, so with that whole thing set up about the type and shadow and going over the history that surrounded the receiving of this revelation, Joseph Smith was very concerned when he went to Yahweh in prayer on December 25th of 1832. Um, uh, and so, and he receives this revelation. So we're going to go into this.
so
Uh,
I just want to say one little
yep.
stint real quick. I, I believe the fact that he's focusing on this on what today is Christmas kind of shows that he did not celebrate Christmas. If he was celebrating Christmas, he would have been doing something way different, in my honest opinion, compared to how I grew up with it anyways, because I don't do it anymore. Um, but this is a little minor point. I think the fact he was focusing on this during what most people would be focused on Yeshua's supposed birth,
Mhm.
um, it's quite a different tone. I'll
Yeah. And I would like to point out that Christmas was not actually widely celebrated in the United States at this time.
Oh no, and actually it was against the law at this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Uh, the Puritans made it against the law because they knew what it was when they came here. So,
Yeah.
anyways,
And that law didn't get revoked for a little bit.
yes. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay. But with that said, we're going to go into Doctrine and Covenants, section 87, acknowledging that there is that there are correlations between what is in the Revelation and the Civil War, but realizing that correlation does not equal fulfillment.
Correct. Especially there's points in here, and we'll get to it as we get there, that are fulfilled the opposite of what is stated in there, right?
Right.
And the fact there is a key word in verse 7 that really shows it hasn't happened. And there's stuff in verse, or is it verse 6? Maybe it's verse 6, because I see the and thus it's verse 6.
Yeah.
So, there are definitely there are a lot of things that are very correlated, which helps the fact that the Civil War was a type
Hmm.
what this is.
Yeah. And what have we gone over about types? They are they are testimonies that the thing prophesied of will happen.
Correct. Now,
So,
if you wanted it to be a particular time, it could be frustrating. It didn't happen the way you thought it was, and then you think it's a false prophecy, but it's not. There's still stuff from Isaiah that hasn't been fulfilled, even from Yeshua that hasn't been fulfilled.
as we can see from even from Isaiah chapter 8, there's wording in that section that isn't even necessarily satisfied by the first coming.
Correct. There was one line that it does look like it was fulfilled a line there, but I do think the greater or the real fulfillment is the second, right?
Yeah.
So,
So, let's see. Zach, do you want to read verse 1 for us?
Verily, verily, thus saith Yahweh, concerning the wars that will shortly come to pass, beginning at the rebellion of South Carolina, which will eventually terminate in the death and misery of many souls.
Okay, first off, the first thing in this verse that needs to be pointed out is wars.
you mean that's plural and not
Yeah.
singular?
Yes, that is exactly what I mean. It's wars that will shortly come to pass, beginning at the rebellion of South Carolina. That means all these wars are subsequent to, um, and and
And to add to that,
subsequent to and following the rebellion of South Carolina.
now, so yes, so how far in the future does something have to be to follow it? I would say Civil War does not qualify, and for what's coming up in the second coming, and specifically, verse 3, which we'll look at a little bit more later, makes some specific connections
Mhm.
and how they're related to
Right.
disqualifies the first Civil War.
But I think the main takeaway from this first verse is wars,
Yes.
multiple wars. Now, things that people will point to is that the Civil War and the Indian War, which did eventually terminate in the death and misery of many souls, That said, we'll see why those don't really fit the bill as we go forward.
Yeah, and one thing we can do more on later, but I do believe verse 1 is connected with the first seal and the second seal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so why don't you go ahead? Do you think this would be a good time to bring that up, or do you think we should wait until another verse?
Sure, we can at least do the first seal one if
Yeah, okay.
you want. Do you want to bring up the page or do you? Oh, okay, you're gonna give it to me.
I'm going to give it to you.
Okay. So, I have the first seal as the Second USA Civil War, beginning at South Carolina. And there's a lot of things here. And you'll see I have verses 1 through 2 on that. But as going with the seals, though, we'd probably go look at Revelation 6:2.
Yes.
So, and I'll read that. And I saw and beheld a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a bow is used for war. Okay. Oh, didn't we just read about wars? And had a crown was given unto him, as in, crown is to take in charge. And
Mm-hmm.
he went forth conquering and to conquer. So this to me, which we get more into a little bit in the D&C in 87 a minute, but this sounds like conquer to do more conquering or war to do more war.
War to get into more war. Yeah, that's a pretty good assessment here. So if you'll give me back the thing now, we can go back into verse 2. Okay. All righty. Andrew, do you want to read verse 2 for us?
I'll pause for a second.
And the time will come that war will be poured out upon all nations, beginning at this place.
Okay. So
So,
let's take a look at the Civil War, and let's see if we can discover that war was poured out upon all nations beginning at the Civil War. Um, the closest war to the Civil War was the Native American wars in the west of America, but that's still not all nations. That's
That
just
was just the U.S.
the next closest war is the Boer War, which is in South Africa, and did not include all nations either. So, unless we're going to say that 50 years qualifies as a nice, as a as being directly led into, but as a nice period of time for being directly led into by the Civil War, we can't even begin to point to a world war that was poured out. And that's just a simple fact. That's not that's not even negotiable, and that's even assuming that you believe that the whole world was at war in World War One.
which it wasn't.
So, and so this clearly points to war. The time will come that war will be poured out upon all nations, beginning at this place. This place, the main place that has been being talked about so far is South Carolina. So that is what you can reasonably interpret this place to mean, especially considering that this is part of that sentence. Verse 2 is a part of the verse 1 sentence.
Correct. And on top of this, since we just read Revelation 6:2, which is the first seal, that doesn't that sound like a war to cause war?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
war is about conquering, right? So this sounds like a conquer to do conquer more conquer.
Well, if you're paying attention to current events, it's very clear that the only thing that's keeping world war that's keeping war from breaking out in and on a broader scale than it already is in the Pacific and in Europe and in Europe is the presence of the strength and might of the United States Army, military, I should say. If that had to be directed back inside itself, what then is the restrainer that keeps these wars from happening? The expansion of this war from happening?
There really isn't any.
And that's a solid fact.
Yeah. And so there is a drive to destroy the USA, aka the war that can cause more wars.
Yes.
Because USA, although with its problems, it is holding some peace, right? Although it may not be doing it the best way, okay?
And it seems to, and even though it seems to have established peace in the Middle East and another false prophecy fulfillment,
Yeah, that has to go off Daniel 9 falls, which is already completely done.
yeah,
So
Daniel
that's
9 is done. The only
uh,
parts of Daniel that are not yet done, I think, are parts of 10 through 12 and the statue.
and then 7.
Yeah, and 7, yeah.
Um, that's just going off rough memory, guys. So, anyways, I'll
Yeah.
put up my Daniel page. So, uh, uh,
So,
oh,
so
actually, there is stuff from
oh,
the second too. Sorry, I just remembered. Because the feet, that's second coming stuff. But anyways.
the chapter 2. That's what I was saying, the statue.
Oh, the statue. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is chapter 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Um, so now we here this verse 2 destroys the possibility that this is fulfilled in the Civil War, though it very clearly does not destroy the possibility that the Civil War is a type and shadow of what this prophecy is actually about.
Right. Because there's tons of correlations that we see, which is I do believe why a lot of people believe, or at least one of the reasons why they believe it's the first Civil War. Also, 2 also leads into the second seal. If that's okay, I can read that.
Yeah. Yep. Stop
So
sharing.
maybe let's stop sharing and I'll reshare. Oh, don't need to show that other window. Don't need to see my terminal window. So, well, that's kind of boring for this lesson. But anyways, so the second seal in Revelation 6 is verses 3 through 4. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that he sat thereon to take peace from the world. So no more peace. So like war
Mm-hmm.
of the world, or maybe all nations,
Mm-hmm.
and that they should kill one another. Oh, that sounds like a war. And that there was given unto him a great sword, as in this case, sword would be go along with war. Okay. Well, in fact, that reminds me, all the first seals have a horse, and horse has to do with war.
Martial power, yes.
Which, as we go through here, you can see that on all of them. The third, maybe not as much, but it's a different type of war, right? So,
Mm.
all right. But
So,
keeping in mind what the second seal is,
mhm,
while we're reading it in this next verse, I think will be important, right?
yes. So, let's see. Let's go here to verse 3. Zach, do you want to read that? Or John, do you want to read? Johnny, do you want to read that?
Yeah.
For behold, the southern states shall be divided against the northern states, and the southern states will call on other nations, even the nation of Great Britain as it is called, and they shall also call upon other nations in order to defend themselves against other nations. And then war shall be poured out upon all nations.
So let's first acknowledge the parts that seem to fit the Civil War. So we have the southern states divided against the northern states. That clearly seems to fit the Civil War. The southern states did call upon other nations. They called upon Great Britain and they called upon France. Great Britain was more likely to get involved and France was kind of interested. They wanted to see how the South would be able to stand, would be able to stand against the North before they really committed themselves. But so that's what we have there, and that is about as far as as the similarity goes, unless you place the they on the southern states, and then you could include France in order to defend themselves against other nations. Russia did provide some aid to the Union, but they were not actually involved in the actual fighting.
Right,
So
so that would be nation against nation there.
that's not nation against nation. So here it falls apart in order to defend themselves against other nations. Now, if you look at this from a current events standpoint, second coming standpoint, and you place the they is Great Britain. Great Britain is in a confederation with other nations known as NATO that they would call upon to defend themselves against other nations, say Russia
Mhm.
and the BRICS nations. And war shall be poured out upon all nations.
Now, I personally believe that, and they shall call upon other nations is talking about Great Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And then they goes along with multiple people, which a nation is, right?
Yeah.
And back during the Civil War time, Great Britain, I think there was the saying something along the lines, the sun never set on Great Britain. So
The sun never sets on the British Empire, and this was the time when that was true. They were the most powerful nation in the world. They were not threatened by any other nation at this time.
yeah, so
Everybody, in fact, at this time, everybody wanted to do trade with them because they had their hands in all the hot trade beds.
which probably because they forced themselves there, but that's
Yeah,
another
absolutely.
which is what the
A
USA has done
a
today.
very interesting study, if you really want to get into dark things, is to look at how the British East India Company subverted the rule of India.
Yes, and that gets with Gandhi even, if I remember correctly. But
Well, yes, that's actually that's at the very tail end of it, but yeah,
yeah, okay. Anyways, so I did remember some history.
yeah.
Anyways,
So, yeah. So this is the, but this is basically so they were not in threat during the time of the Civil War from any other nation.
correct.
So
So, and another way, and I think Ben already said it, but I'll say it again. I think the way to read this is and then say the nation that they called upon needs to defend themselves.
yes,
I believe that's the way to read it. But if you want to read it like the USA need to defend them against other nations, that did not happen during the first Civil War at all. It was,
Nope.
oh wait, the name is civil, so it was an internal war.
Internal dispute.
Yes.
A lot of people died over an internal dispute, but
Yes, so we do not want to put down the deaths that happened. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, The Indians, they helped, but it was not an Indian war. And
Right.
they did help both sides, but it was northern USA or northern states against the southern states. It was not nation against nation.
And so what you have here is the southern so what we have here in our second in our with this now being shifted from the Civil War as the fulfillment to the Second Coming as the fulfillment. What we now have is there's a rebellion within the United States. I don't think even the southern and northern states in this view is even important.
Well,
Um,
one thing, maybe on that point, do you want to look at the definition of state?
yeah, let's take a look at that real quick. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can find that definition.
You want me to pause a second?
Yeah, please. So we have here, according to the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, handsome fellow, sure, no. Um,
Well, hopefully his wife thought he was handsome. But anyways,
yes, hopefully. And so here we have the definition of state. The first definition is condition, the circumstances of a being or thing at any given time, such as your state of health, your what have you. This isn't particularly helpful. The modification of anything, that would be the change of state.
Mhm.
Not necessarily helpful either. Crisis, stationary point, height, point from which the next movement is regression. Okay. That's not necessarily that's not necessarily helpful
I
either.
was talking about a particular type of state,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So estate or possession, mm, that doesn't help. Do you think that gives us any kind
No, because that's more estate planning, things that you own.
of,
So
yeah, a political body or body politic? The whole body of people united under one government, whatever may be the form of the government.
that one definitely applies.
Hmm. So that's a body of people united under one government.
Yeah, and
Uh,
so that could be actual states, or
that
it could be political parties, right?
that is correct because political parties actually have their own government within them.
Hmm.
And so they do constitute a body politic. And that points us
Well, before you go, I do like definition six.
at definition six, a body of men united by profession or constituting a community of a particular character. This definitely points more to a political party.
Hmm.
As the civil and ecclesiastical states of Great Britain. This is two bodies of governing power within the same country. But these are sometimes distinguished by the terms church and state, in this case, state representing the civil community or government only. And so that is, but when you look at these two definitions, 5 and 6, you can see a very definite pointing to the thing about political parties. And this is the issue that we have is that in America, people of different political parties live next door to each other.
Yes. And when a different political party's in charge, the other one complains of
Yeah, gerrymandering, cheating.
gerrymandering. Yeah, that's right, which is changing the voting boundaries, but they love it when their own party does it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a double standard. But the reason that works is because there's people of different political thought living close to each other, right?
Mhm.
Which
And
also supports, what is it, D&C 43 maybe,
mhm.
where you're going after your neighbor, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's 43. We could pause and
Yeah,
find.
let's go to that now.
Okay, I'm gonna pause.
Okay, so as we were talking about with this war being between the southern states and the northern states, and if you can, and we look at the state definition of state, it shows body politic, or two governing bodies within the same state, two axes of government within the same state, we within the same country, and when we see that the parties are so intermingled with each other across the United States right now. Um, Also, when you consider that the Democratic Party was the Southern states in the Civil War, and the Republican Party was the Northern states in the Civil War. Even so, we can see that those that the even so, we can see that this now points to you can see some correlation to party between states and propon and prime and parties. And so what we have here is a situation, because the people of different parties live next door to each other. We have a situation for the fulfillment of this prophecy concerning the second coming. And starting in verse 60, reading verse 68, and it shall come to pass among the wicked. Among the wicked, this means that Zion has already been established. Those people are not the wicked. But among those who are not outside of Zion, the wicked, that every man that will not take up his sword against his neighbor must needs flee to Zion for safety.
Now, this is a little after the seal, but I don't, that we're currently talking about, but I don't see the circumstance changing much from the second to the fourth seal. Okay.
Right.
And interestingly enough, verse 63 actually talks about the first and the second seal, if you want to scroll
Yeah.
up a little bit.
Ye hear of wars in foreign lands, but behold, I say unto you, they are nigh, even at your doors. And not many years hence ye shall hear of wars in your own lands.
So that sounds like the first and the second seal.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Doctrine and Covenants 87 is also the key. Those two, 87 and 45, go together really nicely, showing the type and shadow of the Civil War and and its ultimate fulfillment in the second Civil War, which is the war to cause more wars.
Correct. Or to conquer.
Mm-hmm. Conquering to conquer.
Or, yeah, conquering to conquer. Um, which goes along with how the USA needs to be destroyed because they're, to a certain degree, they are keeping peace everywhere, right?
Yes. Uh,
Now, if you're
that's
willing, can I read the third seal from Revelations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let me share my screen.
Gotta go back for that.
Okay, so
Not to feel like
it's Revelations 5 through 6. I'll just put it there at the top. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Balances in this case is going to deal with commerce, okay?
Yeah.
Which actually also has to do with eating, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a voice in the midst of oh, no, I guess I just read what I needed to. Sorry about that. I was going too far ahead.
Okay. So now with that in place, uh, yeah, we now go back here into verse 4. Zach, do you want to read that?
And it shall come to pass after many days, slaves shall rise up against their masters, who shall be marshaled and disciplined for war.
Okay. So I have often held this to be the populace rising up against their masters because the populace rising up against the leaders of the state because they can't purchase what they need. The social contract has been broken and they rise up. The slaves rise up. This is one way that I have looked at this in regards to the second coming. Now, before we go too far with that, again, I want to acknowledge the way that the Civil War coincides with this prophecy, and that is that there were many slave uprisings in the South throughout the Civil War. So that is something that did happen. And they were put down by there, and that's one of the things that actually kept the South from being as effective in certain places with their military against the Union military because they were having to put down rebellions uh, among the slaves.
So I think also maybe to help with this, there's one in Second Peter that maybe that's on my list that maybe we should read if you're willing to.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at it here. I'm going to go
Well,
here.
actually, stop share because there's a new translation for it.
Okay.
It's a minor one, but it's
What's this translation?
so. Oh yeah, we don't have to see my terminal. Doing other things. Anyways, so this is the new translation, Second Peter 2:3. And though of your covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, which they have. Anyways, that's another subject. Whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not. So, meaning judgment on them is coming.
Yes.
And there here, the King James sound says damnation, but the New Translation says destruction slumbereth not, meaning they're going to be destroyed, as in slaves, because they're merchandise, rising up against the masters.
Yes, that's actually a very good verse correlating that. Um, and that's correlating that meaning that I'm talking about there.
Yes.
So I of course I kind of like that.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah. But there's another meaning that Stephen brought out the last time we were recording that kind of grew on me a little bit. And you want to go into that
Can you remind?
about the National Guard?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's going off of something you're saying. So, um, the National Guard are slaves, okay?
Hmm.
And they're learning war. Now, the sorry if I don't remember the names of the officers, but the top officers are the ones that are the actual masters.
Hmm.
And so, if the National Guard, they're slaves, meaning they do what they're told. That's what slaves do, right? They do what they're told
Hmm.
by their masters. And these slaves are being disciplined for war. That actually kind of sounds like the National Guard or just any army in general, right? Except here's the one part that's going to be specific that these slaves or members are going to rise up against the commands of their masters. They're like, we're not going to do that. And I think a lot of it is because they don't want to fight against their own people, aka Americans, like they're going to be told to do.
For the National Guard, these people, when you think about the National Guard being called out just to do law enforcement stuff on the streets of these cities, for many of these people that they're doing this stuff on are their neighbors.
Mhm.
And they're people that they live in the same city with.
So you can kind of see that even with, not completely, but a little bit with ICE right now, right? I think those are the
Yeah.
words or the
Yes.
word acronym for
Mhm.
them. Some are having a hard time. They don't like their job, but they're doing it right now. But the other citizens aren't liking it. I mean, I will admit, I don't like how they're doing it. Okay. But that's another issue. But I do see it leading up to this.
What I see is ICE doing a great job of cracking down on construction workers and migrant farmers, and doing a really lousy job of getting rid of all the criminals.
Yes, which could actually be part of their plan because that's going to help cause more division, right?
Yeah,
And help with the civil war that needs to
yeah.
happen first.
While they've caught a couple of high-profile criminals that they've deported so that they can make it look good. Generally speaking, what they're going after are the people who've been brought to work in America under illegal pretenses.
Yes, yeah. Um, there's a lot of people that are trying to come in the country illegally. They're just trying to make a better life. There is the issue of the illegally.
The illegal aspect, I can't sympathize with. I
Uh,
cannot sympathize with that.
Right, and there's a lot of people who have been trying to get in the country legally, and they're being denied, and these illegals are being allowed to stay. It's a big mess. We'll just leave it at that, okay? It's a big
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah. So, but the point is, all of these people are getting to the point where they're getting fed up
Yeah, on all sides of the issue.
on multiple levels here. And so the slaves will rise up against their masters, especially when the dollar collapses and we are no longer able to buy food.
Yes, because and with other things that are stated during this seal, that is definitely part of it, right? The balances and revelations. And there's the phrase of a whole day's wage, but which is a penny, right?
Yeah,
Um, for a
for
for a
a
ma-
loaf of bread.
yeah.
For a loaf of bread. But the main thing is
Oh, in fact, let me read that because
yeah.
I do. That actually is part of the third seal. I just got a little confused. Sorry, my bad.
Yep.
So
Revelation.
and I even have it there. It's probably because I heard the fourth beast, but it does talk about the penny stuff and then open the fourth seal. So the fourth seal starts at 7. I just got confused. Sorry about that. So
Mhm.
I'll read 5 and then 6, okay? And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the mist, so around the fourth beast, of a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. See that thou not hurt the oil and the wine. So, I do want to bring out here this penny goes along with a day's wage during the New Testament time. Okay. Um, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. So that's food for a penny. Okay. But
Yeah.
thou shalt not hurt the oil and the wine. So the guy that we were talking to that ended up not publishing, he did bring out how this has to do with cooking here. The oil and the wine, which goes along with the wheat and the barley. So I do think that was a good insight.
Mhm.
I do believe on the deeper portion or the more symbolic or spiritual level, it has to do with those who have received the Holy Spirit, which is the oil, and the atonement, the wine. Okay.
Yes.
So I do see both aspects there about the cooking that actually kind of goes with the context, right? With the
Mhm.
wheat and the barley.
Well, and this is actually a good warning from the scriptures to get some hard skills for yourself.
Yeah, don't be just a software engineer like my career is. Uh, get some other skills that can actually do something in the real world.
Yeah.
And
So
I mean, I'm a software engineer, but I don't want computers controlling everything in my life, which is maybe unusual for someone in my position, but
yeah.
I maybe I'm still old school, but I probably won't change on that. But anyways.
I don't see any reason to. Okay, so that is that.
So I do think there's an aspect of both on that aspect, right?
Yeah, I think so.
There is the trading that is displayed in various ways, and then there's the masters displayed in multiple ways also, or multiple verses,
Yes,
right? On
absolutely.
on both of these portions. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So here we go. Let's go to and Johnny, you want to read verse 5?
Sure. And it can wait a minute. And it shall come to pass also that the remnant who are left of the land will marshal themselves and shall become exceedingly angry and shall vex the Gentiles with a sore vexation.
Thank you, Johnny, for the character laced reading there. Um, so what we have here is the remnants. The remnants are the descendants of Lehi, who were judged by the Gentiles and
Well,
have
actually, they're judged by Yahweh.
yeah, judged by
Yahweh used the Gentiles to punish them, but the Gentiles went too far in their punishment.
yeah, but we'll go with that. Um, and so that so these will marshal themselves. Marshal means to prepare for war,
Mhm.
and shall become exceedingly angry and shall vex the Gentiles with a sore vexation. Let's first acknowledge the type and shadow, um, because the United States Army was fighting with itself in the Civil War. The Native Americans took advantage of the situation. Um, it did some massacre. It did a massacre of some of the leftover Union troops out on the frontier, uh, which resulted in the almost immediate starting of the North American Indian of the Plains Indian Wars. Um,
Correct, but the one thing to bring out, although the Lehites did that, it was the Lehites that got the vexation.
in the end, the Lehites got extremely vexed. They lost all their land. They were forced to relocate to other lands.
Yeah,
Um,
and so that happened after the wars, but even during the wars, there was ton more Lehites that died than
mhm.
the army by I we'd have to look at the numbers again, but it was like 10 or
It
100
was
times.
about 10. It was about 100 to 1.
Yeah, so it was the Lehites that got the sore vexation, not the
And
Gentiles.
so what we see here is in the type and shadow, the exact opposite happened that is prophesied here.
On the vexation part, because the
Yeah.
Indians or the Lehites did marshal themselves.
But on the vexation part, it's the exact opposite of what's prophesied here. So we don't even really have a correlation here, but we do have a correlation with the fourth seal.
Oh,
Correct. So I'll read that. But before I do read that, I do want to bring out this one part and shall become exceedingly angry.
Mhm.
If you look at the Lehites, they're very close to a breaking point.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of anger.
And
And it's justifiable.
yes, I would agree with that.
Um, when you think about it, the United States government, no matter how, the United States government has killed more of Lehi's children than the Germans killed of Ashkenazi Jews or or than the Russians killed of their own people.
And the history's hidden.
The only people who may have killed more of their own people than America has killed of the Lehites are the Chinese.
That's true. I can see that.
Uh,
Um,
that might be the biggest. The Chinese might be the biggest genocide, but
that's a valid point. But with the Lehites, it's very much hidden history.
yeah.
And they hid it behind manifest destiny so that way they could convince the people that they could take their land.
Mhm.
And then they did a lot of not keeping the agreements and then being dirty with the agreements too.
Oh,
So,
make it framing the agreements in legalese, which they may in which they prop in which it seems they did not that the native populace did not understand. Um, thus being able to steal more and more of their land as time progressed, forcing them onto bearer and bearer portions as we seized the best of the land that we had quote unquote given to them.
correct. All right. So, Ben, will you allow me to share my screen?
Yep, and let's go to that fourth seal.
Go back to Revelation 6.
Yeah. There it goes. Okay. So, let me move. I can't show it all. You'll have the link. So, but first of all, we'll read it in Revelations. So I'll go. I don't see it. So apparently I need to update it. So, but anyways, it's over here. It's 7 through 8. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." Now, this is going to get a little controversial, so we will talk about it. Okay.
Mhm.
And behold, and I looked and beheld a pale horse, and depending on the translations, that's even possibly a green horse, okay, or even a speckled horse.
Right. It
Um,
varies. The translation of that Greek word varies.
and I'll be honest, I wonder if I like the speckled more, because of who this represents as the mighty and strong one. And
Mhm.
Jacob, who was renamed Israel,
With the speckled goats.
I thought it was lambs.
Yeah, it was. Well, they had to come from goats or sheep. So the spec, all the goats and sheep producing speckled or ringed streak because of things that he put in front of them.
Well, right. So, well, I think it was lambs or sheep, but either way, that Jacob was told to put sticks in the water.
Mm.
Sticks? You mean like maybe two?
Hmm.
Huh, this goes along with other revelations to do with the time, specifically Second Nephi 3, and others. How in Ezekiel 37, sticks, scriptures, to get them speckled. But anyways, That's my inclination. We'll leave it at that because I do believe this is talking about the mighty and strong one. Now, before I bring out what his name is, okay, I do want to bring out that one of Yahweh's names is the angel of death.
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, this refers most famously to a specific event, Passover. Okay.
And, and by the way, for the unrepentant, hell does follow in the wake of death.
Yes, yes, it does. Um, and his name that sat on him, so the one that sat on the horse was Death. Okay. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because the angel of death is Yahweh. Okay. Now, I do believe the why this is his name is because he will be heading the Lehites that's talked about in verse 5 that are marshaling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The mighty and strong one will be their leader in their marshaling, and they will take the USA, or specifically Heartland, back by blood, going back to D&C 101, redeemed by blood.
So let's actually take this opportunity. Let's actually take this opportunity to look at 3rd Nephi chapter 20, which talks about this.
Sure, sure. So to get the specific verses, it's 11 through 22. Do you have ones in specific, or should we just do all of those?
Um, I think, yeah, let's just do 3rd Nephi 20. Let's see.
Because as you can see here, I have lots of places it goes along with. And while Ben's trying to figure out which one he wants, I will say this. It's during Unleavened Bread, which is part of Passover. Okay. There's three high holidays that go together. Passover, Unleavened Bread, and First Fruits. This is going to be happening on Unleavened Bread. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to look at 18 through 22.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and
Do you want to
share.
share or do you want me just
Yeah, go ahead and share.
okay, so 20. Okay. Do you want to read it or
Wait, just a minute. Let me get that up. Okay. And I will gather my people together as a man gathereth his sheaves into the floor. For I will make my people with whom the Father hath covenanted. Yea, I will make thy horn iron. Horn is a symbol of power.
yeah.
And I will make thy hoofs brass. And thou shalt beat in pieces many people. And I will consecrate their gain unto YHWH, and their substance unto YHWH of the whole earth. And
Okay,
behold, yep,
so I do want to bring something out.
yep,
So, in the King James during Unleavened Bread, when the people left with Moses, it says the Egyptians lent them things. That's not a good translation. Um, they gave it to the the Israelites for unpaid wages. Okay. But that goes along with other unleavened bread events that when during unleavened bread, people receive things from the people that's been pushing them down. And that's what we see here.
uh-huh. So he will consecrate the gain of the Gentiles unto YHWH.
Or the Lehites, to be specific in this case, um, because they've been held back. And these agreements that we talked about earlier actually stole things from the Lehites.
Yep. And it shall come to pass, saith the Father, that the sword of my justice shall hang over them at that day, and except they repent, it shall fall upon them, saith the Father, yea, even upon all the nations of the Gentiles, and it shall come to pass that I will establish my people, O house of Israel.
Okay, so hold on. So back in 20, it almost is like it's talking about these seals in various ways, because upon all nations, that's oh, wait a minute.
This is you find those words in the at the a little I think in the very next verse of section 87.
Yeah. So there's a lot of parallels here, and I'm going to say it's more than just parallels. It's because it's the same event being talked about from a different angle. Okay.
And in a little more detail.
Yeah, or different details.
Different details, yeah.
Uh,
And behold, this people will I establish in this land, unto the fulfilling of the covenant which I made with your father Yaakov, and it shall be a new Jerusalem, and the powers of heaven shall be in the midst of this people. Yea, even I will be in the midst of you. Behold, I am he of whom Moshe spake, saying, a prophet shall Yahweh your Eloheinu raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul who will not hear that prophet shall be cut off from among the people.
so I do want to bring out in verse 22, he will establish the Lehites in Heartland to fulfill the covenant he made. So, do you think the Americans are just going to say, okay, here's your land back. You can have it? No. This is going to be war, and hence the land will be redeemed, and you redeem something by giving it back by who it rightfully belongs to by
Mhm.
blood.
Yes,
D101.
the redemption is by blood.
I have it up here. It's D&C 10180 and D&C 5853, and then I have some others from the five books
From
of Moses.
Torah, yeah, from Torah, from the first 5 books of Moses.
Yeah. Um, so I know that sounds hard, but it's not uncommon. For example, there's Joshua.
Hmm.
He did it. And so he's a redeemer in the pattern, but sometimes the responsibilities will go from messenger to preparer or back and forth, or preparer and redeemer back and forth. It's
And
nothing's a
here,
perfect shadow.
yes, and here is another thing. This may sound like a hard fate decreed on the nation of America, but it is justice. America has lived on the backs of these, has lived on the backs of these people, the backs of Israel, for long enough. And justice is mine, saith Yahweh.
Yeah, so they haven't really been so much using them as slaves as more as they stole their property.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Which has made their life harder than it should have been, right?
and it's made our lives easier,
Yeah.
incredibly.
Yes. All right. So let's go back to Revelations. So
Mhm.
there's multiple things here. His name shall be Death, like the angel of death, and this is the mighty and strong one. He has many names.
Mhm.
Um, and it, he's going to be helping the roaring lions of the Lehites take back their land, which is a common thing. As you can see, Joshua did it. There's reasons for it. There's shadows for it. It's in the Old Testament. It's on Isaiah. Anyways, it's a lot of places. Okay. Um, so you can go look at those and see if it putting all those together if it makes sense.
Mhm.
And then in addition, and hell followed with him. This is not saying that he caused hell, it came with him. And I think Ben has a good story about Noah that would go help with this illusion if he wants to tell it.
Um,
Blood and people stayed back.
oh, yes. Yeah, Noah, he, he received the commandment to preach to the people the gospel of repentance, and he preached that gospel, and they wouldn't listen, they wouldn't repent. And so Yahweh told him to build an ark. He built that ark, and people mocked him, saying that, things keep going on. We keep having children, and those children keep doing deeds of great renown. And what are you talking about, dude? The end of the world? And and so he was, mocked. But when he, but when he, but when he climbed into the ark and Yahweh sealed the door, and people tried to come up to the ark, um, thinking that they could get in and be saved. Um, they were not. They were destroyed. And Noah was carried up upon the water in the ark in the safe place, and the others went to hell because they,
Oh, sorry.
because they had not repented.
And interestingly enough, that happened during second unleavened bread. Okay.
Yes. Yes, because guess what, folks? If there is a second Passover, there must needs be a second unleavened bread, and it might as well follow that there's a second first fruits as well.
Oh, I do have scriptures. I could just bring this up, hopefully, just to show it quickly. I do have references for second unleavened bread.
Mhm.
Um, Gonna go up. See, here's second unleavened bread. Second Chronicles 30:13 and Second Chronicles 30:21. So much, I'll just read it. And they're assembled. Oh, I should probably make this bigger. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
Okay. Second Chronicles 30:13. And there assembled at Jerusalem much people to keep the feast of unleavened bread in the second month. And a great congregation, second unleavened bread.
Yep.
And then verse 21, and the children of Israel that were present at Jerusalem kept the feast of unleavened bread 7 days with great gladness. And it was, what month was it? Oh yeah, the second. So it must be second unleavened bread.
Yep.
And the Levites and the priests praise Yahweh day by day, singing with loud instruments unto Yahweh. Okay, so there is an instance of second unleavened bread, and it even's calling it Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay. Now attached to that is second Passover and second first fruits. I do believe first fruits points to the second resurrection, but that's not this subject of this recording. Okay, so, but even Noah's event was during second unleavened bread. Okay, if I remember right, it was actually second first fruits, I think. But anyways, that's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to get into that. Then this next part, and hell followed with him. It doesn't say he caused hell. It said it followed him or came after him. Okay. We can, in fact, let's maybe just go look at that word.
Just like with Noah, when the waters descended and ascended, those who were not in the ark that had been prepared went to hell.
Correct. So pursued. So that's something that follows after. Succeeded. Something that happens after.
Right.
Accompanied. It happened at the same time. Attended. I don't think applies here, right?
It does, basically meaning that they're in the same place at the same time.
Oh, okay. All right. Imitated. I did I say that word right? Yeah, I did imitate. Yeah. I don't see observed, practice, adhered to. Okay, so practice, I when you're doing a command, obeyed. Okay. The imitated, maybe that has to go along with the obeyed, probably.
Yeah, but the followed that we're talking about here is the ones that are talking about pursued,
Pursued, succeeded,
succeeded,
accompanied.
accompanied, attended.
Correct. And
So with um yeah, so with death comes hell.
Huh?
well, I actually I that's true. And I though I do think this more points to the tribulation, though,
Yeah. Yeah.
personally. Because in the scriptures, this is called as the point where there is nothing worse that has ever happened,
Hmm.
ever in the history of man. The tribulation.
Yeah.
And so this is the time that the tribulation of 7 year starts is Passover unleavened bread. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And then in the middle of that, you get the fifth seal, but we're not dealing with that in D&C 87, so we won't go over that. But it's on the page if you want to go look. Okay.
So that now the next line is pretty important. And power was given him unto him over a fourth part of the earth. So
Okay.
that
Now we got to talk about fourth part. Do you want to do
yeah,
that? You want me
yeah,
to?
I'll talk about fourth part.
Okay.
Um, in the Hebrew tradition of writing and recording, when it's very what functional in its approach to description. It's not descriptive, it's functional. So when you talk about the fourth part, you are not talking about a mathematical quarter. You are talking about Earth's population divided into four parts, and one part is given to the mighty and strong one.
Well, this isn't actually population, this is land, but I
Yeah,
do
okay, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
idea still carries over. Just talk about land and not.
Yeah, yeah. If you carry the idea to land, if you carry the idea to land, then we're in the right place. But I was thinking about population. Sorry, but yeah, land. You've got it works the same. Land it works the same way.
Yeah.
You've got a certain amount of land. You divide that certain amount of land into four parts. That fourth part is given to Zion and the mighty and
Okay.
strong.
Correct. So these parts don't have to be the same size.
They do not have to be the same size at all.
Now, I think to kind of help go along with this, do you want to talk about the third part and how that points to Sons of Perditions?
Yeah, yeah. So remember how it talks about in Revelation how the dragon drew the third part of the stars of heaven with him. This is in Revelation to the pre-existence. This is in reference to the pre-existence when Satan drew a third, not a third, but the third part of the host of heaven after him. This is not a mathematical third. Again, this is the third part. You have the first part, the second part, and the third part. The third part is not redeemed. The second part is is um uh is redeemed but not glorified, and the first part is those who receive glory
Correct.
uh, in the kingdom of heaven. The third part are those who are perdition. They receive no part of salvation.
Yeah, they're not in the kingdom of heaven, and they will be stoned for eternity, forever.
Yeah,
Never ending, however you want to, whatever, which of your favorite phrases that people don't like to hear you want to use.
right.
Um,
More importantly, that they don't like to apply.
uh,
So power over a fourth part, that means that fourth part is separated onto Zion.
Yes, that is what's going. That's the fourth part is talking about. So one thing I want to bring out is on the 1/3 part. 3 goes along with redemption, where
Yes.
the third part is the inverse of that, or the opposite, which goes with sons of perditions.
Mhm.
Where 4 talks about wholeness. So the
Mhm.
inversion of that would be a portion,
Mhm.
just following the pattern that's in another um, number system that people are aware of, but probably haven't put a lot of thought into
And
it.
so this is the interesting thing here. The fourth part will receive wholeness. That's interesting. Zion will receive the fullness of the gospel. Will receive the fullness of the law and the gospel.
Now, I will say not everybody will accept it, but the leaders there will have it and work on persuading all others to have it. But
Right.
yes, the fullness will be there.
The issue,
And not just the gospel, but the all things, which is Torah. Okay.
yeah, the fullness of Torah will be revealed. The fullness of the mind and will of Yahweh Elohim will be revealed to Zion, though not everybody in Zion will be accepting of it.
Correct. They'll at least live the ones do it with your neighbor, and they may not worship on the Sabbaths. I said plural on purpose because that's what's actually there. Um, and that gets in a whole other subject. Um,
Mhm.
but they can't worship anybody else. They
Right.
can just do nothing, basically.
Basically.
But anyways, so where'd we go? Okay, so the receive of this person whose name, one of his names is death, will receive power over a fourth part of the earth, Zion, okay, Heartland, and to get it, he's going to use the sword. Oh, wait a minute, could that go with the mark? Oh, we don't need to look at that right now. Anyways, so that goes along with the 3rd Nephi 20. It also goes along with 3rd Nephi 16 and 3rd Nephi 21 and a whole bunch of others you can go look at. Okay.
And Doctrine and Covenants 87, the remnant, marshal for war, marshaling themselves for war. Um,
Through the leadership of one of that's called death. Okay.
under the leadership of death.
Yes, that sounds funny, but anyways, we'll call him the mighty and strong one.
I have a tendency to say funny things.
Yeah,
So to kill, and so this power is extended by killing with the sword and with hunger.
Now,
And
along with this, there is prophecies how this mighty and strong one will cause a famine to happen. And there's examples of this throughout the scriptures, including Nephi, son of Nephi, in the Book of Mormon, who is a preparer, um, to cause a famine,
Mhm.
which is a type of this right here. Okay.
Yep.
This no this one right here. Um, so he caused a famine. So will the mighty and strong one cause a famine.
Yep.
And people will die. And then
To the earth will eat others.
yeah, the beast will go eat these dead bodies because it's going to be too many to go bury everybody. Sorry. I know that sounds horrible, but
It's pretty intense.
Yeah, it's not the first time they have left bodies out. So,
And it
um,
won't be, and let me tell you, it won't be the last.
well, no. Speaking of which, shall we go read verse 6? That even
Yeah.
starts leading into that even more. And do you want to do it on your computer or?
I can read here.
Okay.
And thus with the sword and by bloodshed, the inhabitants of the earth shall mourn, and with famine and plague and earthquake and the thunder of heaven. Wait a minute, all these things, some of these things are talked about in the fourth seal. the famine.
Some, yes. So I
The
do think there's some
sword and bloodshed.
bleeding. This one going in this right here. I would say though that most of this is dealing with
I would
seven.
agree. I would agree, but you can see even in the description of the fifth seal in Revelation, the famine and the plague and the sword were there.
That's true. That is true. So there's some fifth in here that I hadn't made the connection of. That it's good that you brought out.
Mhm.
Probably because I've been a little blinded because I do see this mostly as seven, but.
Mhm. And
But
earth.
on that point, some of it could be six because six
Mhm.
causes seven. So, but anyways, that's another subject.
And
But
earthquake and thunder of heaven and the fierce and vivid lightning also shall the inhabitants of the earth be made. So with all these things shall the inhabitants of the earth be made to feel the wrath and indignation and chastening hand of an almighty Elohim.
yes,
Where what
for
and what
that the wrath. Sorry, Ben. That wrath is the seventh seal with the seven trumpets and bowls. Okay.
and what brings it about is the return of the polar configuration.
Yes, and even Daniel 2 brings that out, and I even have stuff in the D&C that Ben's helped me with the dictionary word meaning to help me bring that out. I just need to spend time in finishing that post.
Which will be called by the one mighty and strong.
Yes. But I do think it's good that Ben brought out something that we hadn't noticed before, that there's elements of 4 and 5 in verse 6, and there's definitely 7 in here. So this is actually Revelation, D&C 87's going through every single seal.
Mm-hmm.
And
The wrath and indignation and chastening hand of an almighty God until the consumption decreed hath made a full end of all nations. Okay, so did nations end with the Civil War?
no. And this is a big deal because actually, here, let me go get the word thus up so that way people know what it means just in case. And I'll let you be in charge of reading that one, Ben.
Yep. Okay, so the definition of thus is in this or that manner. So in this manner, what we have described above
Will cause.
with the sword, with the sword and the let me see. Okay, with the sword and by bloodshed, the inhabitants of the earth shall mourn. In this or that manner, on this wise. That's what it
So
means.
now it means basically the previous stuff causes the stuff after.
Yes. But what we have is the vexing the Gentiles with a sore vexation, taking that fourth part of the land of the earth, or Zion, creates the safe place in the wilderness for the woman.
You're right. And actually the whole world who wants to go to it are willing to keep the
Yeah, when I talk about
oral commandments or the last five of the
yeah,
five divisions of
talking
Torah.
about the woman, I'm talking about the church, I'm talking about Israel.
Sure. Which, yes, that's true. And I should say, in addition to that, because there's going to be the actual righteous and those who are just trying to escape the world.
Yes.
So there's both going there. So there's the 7 year fortification, and then at the same time, the four of seals starts the 7 years of evil, which I have stuff on there, which I should probably add more. But anyways, this is a good start. Um, but yes, Israel are the righteous, and then the world are those who just want to escape, and they'll play nice even though they're not believers, right? So.
Right. And because they don't want to be kicked out. Because those who willfully break the laws of Zion, which are Torah, will be thrown out of the land because we need the protection of Yahweh.
Yes. So I'm gonna try to find, or maybe I'll pause for a second.
Mhm.
Oh, wrong button.
Okay, so we found that we found those verses in Revelation which talk about how the prayers of the saints are ascending to Yahweh, and that correlates to verse 7, which is actually a part, the idea of verse 7 is actually a part of verse 6. Uh,
Yes. So let's read the ones in chapter 8, which starts with verse 3. Do you want to read those? 3 and
yeah, sure.
3
And another
through.
angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before Elohim out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Oh, wait, let's go back to verse 6 here.
Okay. So
And
real quick, before you do that, I want to bring out how incense talks about the prayers. And this right here, event in chapter 8, is happening just before the wrath. Okay? Let's keep this in mind. And verse 7 in D&C 87 is after the wrath.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
So here we are. We notice here the correlation here. There were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. Let's go to verse 6 here really quick. And also
No, I think you
the
mean 5.
plague. No, yeah, sorry. No, verse 6.
Oh.
And earthquake and thunder of heaven and fierce and vivid lightning also correlates very strongly with verse 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we weren't sure which chapter we were talking about. But anyways, sorry about that.
Yeah. So, and the until a full end of all nations, that the and why must all nations end? That the cry of the saints and that the blood of the saints shall cease to come up into the ears of Yahweh of Sabaoth
Yeah,
from
so
the earth.
all these nations are part of Mystery Babylon. The seventh seal, which verse 6 of 87 is talking about, is the destruction of Babylon, which is what the seventh seal, which is the seven trumpets and bowls, are doing. It's destroying Mystery Babylon. So they don't have to pray about it anymore, which is what's talking about in verse 7. They won't, the cry of the saints and the blood of the saints will cease to come up
Mm-hmm.
because it got taken care of with the seventh seal,
Mm-hmm.
showing a
Which can
further connection to second coming in D&C 87.
which cannot happen until the two witnesses are slain and lie dead in the streets of Jerusalem for 3.5 days.
Where everybody can see them, not just people claiming they're dead. I'll just leave it at that. I'll put a link to a post.
That the cry of the saints and the blood of the saints shall cease to come up unto the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth from the earth to be avenged of their enemies. Wherefore, stand ye in holy places. Does he say, get a year's supply of food? No, he says, stand ye in holy places for this cause. When you see these things, stand ye in holy places.
Meaning, first and foremost, repent and get right with Yah.
Because no place that you will be is a holy place if you do not repent.
Yeah. And then be not moved, endure to the end.
Until the day of Yahweh come. This is also kind of, like I said in the last recording that we did on this, is kind of a side swipe reference to Adam-ondi-Ahman, because Yeshua and his saints will stay in Zion in the temple complex until the uh, uh, until the time comes for his unveiling on the Mount of Olives.
Yes. So Adam-ondi-Ahman is a moon and a half after Pentecost Shavuot. Okay. And you can go look at the second coming page. Um, and you can just search Adam-ondi-Ahman. And it is one of the numbers of Daniel. It's the 1,335 days. So,
For behold, it cometh quickly, saith Yahweh.
and it
And
is the second coming.
when you see these things transpire, you will know that the day of Yahweh is indeed at hand.
Yes. Um, so I first and foremost, it's important to get ready spiritually, meaning repent. Oh, first come under Yahweh's covering and repent. And repent means stop doing what's wrong or evil, and that means stop breaking or doing against Torah. First John, is it First John that says that? And anyways,
John 3:4.
yeah, okay. So Ben's got that memorized. And then after that, prepare temporarily, or maybe even do some of both all the time,
Yeah,
and get stuff for survival. And
yeah.
if one of the cheap things, you can just go get some fish hooks and some fish line because you don't need a fishing pole because you can use a stick.
No.
Um, and that's something cheap. I mean, I suggest getting some stuff for water and shelter and learning some skills. For example, if you need to filter water, you don't have anything else, you can force water through a vine or a branch and it will filter it. Okay. There's lots of ways. I've been working on learning. So prepare spiritually first and foremost, because if you do die, at least you'll receive your reward in heaven.
Mhm.
Secondly, is prepare temporarily so you can take care of yourself and others, specifically your family, and
Mhm.
others if you're able to. Okay.
Mhm. And yeah, and I would, on top of that, I would say the admonition of Yahweh in this revelation is to stand in holy places.
Yeah.
Holy means set apart.
Meaning different than the world.
Holy, set apart means like Yahweh. The mind and will of Yahweh, as revealed to us in Torah, tells us what it means to stand in holy places. It shows us how we are to do it. It shows us how we will enter into the rest of Yahweh. If you want to enter into his rest, heed the invitation to stand. No, the commandment to stand in holy places. Also, get a team. Get some people together who have a wide variety of skills. No man is an island. When things go south, which which Joseph Smith being a prophet, they will. You
Well,
will
it's not
need.
just Joseph Smith that prophesied of things
Yeah,
going.
I mean, we've shown that this is not just Joseph Smith's prophecy. He's actually building on a legacy of Hebraic prophecy.
Well, it's Yahweh through the mouth of Joseph Smith,
Right, right.
but there's a lot of connections here. That even some new ones that we didn't have before, in addition to just doing some clarifications here, right?
I will point out that Yahweh ratifies his prophets, and therefore it's okay to say that if that person being a prophet, you can count on their word just as if it came from the mouth of Yahweh, whether by mine own voice or by the voice of my servants. it is the same.
Correct.
So we can count on it getting worse before it gets better. You'll need your team. You'll need your team of people with wide variety of skills. And some of those, some of those may be skills that you wouldn't think about necessarily from a survival standpoint. Maybe one of your friends knows the law of this country, and that can be of help to you. Maybe one of your friends knows some other soft skills that can be of help to you. Hard skills or soft skills, both will help you survive.
Yes.
But none of it matters if you're not standing in holy places.
Yeah.
But still,
in addition with that, if you don't mind me interjecting a little bit,
yeah.
To receive Yahweh's protection, you need to repent, because what you can't do, He will make up if you stand in holy places.
Yeah. So I just want to leave that with you. I hope this has been efficacious to you, and that there's things in this that inspire you to action, help you to do those things. Because Rome wasn't built in a day. If the world hasn't fallen apart today, there's still something you can do to help yourself when it does. Do something every day. Prepare, for the kingdom of YHWH is truly at hand. And I say these things to you in the name of Yeshua, HaMashiach, Amen.
Amen.